let's look at what work and sports are. These are just labels at the end of the day, okay? Now, the question, the place I want us to all go, and when I say us, I mean our brains, I want us to really start looking at why, as individuals, do we have a biased attitude or a different way in which most of us look at work versus sports. Now, I could have taken art, I could have taken something else also. I've taken sports because it's a common theme that for most people, including me many years ago or some years ago now, yeah, look at it as something like it makes your heart go, wow, yay, I need to go for it, right? We'll go and do it even if nobody pays us for it. It's like, it's a fun thing. And with work, the typical people way most of us think of it is, oh, I need to go to work. Why do I need to work, right? So this is something that I actually personally recognized in my own life, and I started investigating into this. Okay, so this happened to me at a time where I was already doing work that I was in my sweet zone. I was teaching, I enjoyed it. I was teaching subjects that I really liked. So I'd started working as a faculty in IIM Bangalore. I was in my 30s then. And now I'm also a sportsman. I don't know how many, of you watching this might know. I was the captain of Bihar under-12 mini basketball team. So there was a time in my life when sports was a big part of my life. It was very important. And I love basketball. I don't play too many games. I play basketball because my father used to play basketball, and he also played for Kerala team as well as Bihar team. So, blah, blah, blah. I started playing basketball. I grew up on a basketball court, started playing basketball very seriously. So I played it through school and college. And so when I was teaching at IIM Bangalore, and this is now, I'm in my 30s, I was still playing in the evenings for fun. And I used to play with, so I'm a woman in my 30s, a professor playing, and my playmates on the court are PGP students, MBA students on the IIM Bangalore campus. And most of them used to, typically, it was very rare to have a girl. Often, it wasn't very common, at least in the days when I was playing. I don't know why they were not, But so there were a lot of basically young boys in their early 20s. And I realized by then that, my stamina was going down, my skill was going down. So I was getting really tired on the court. I was not, in some ways, not even having as much fun, because I used to feel like, okay, I don't know if these boys are not passing to me. I was not getting passes, and I thought I should have been getting. And that's probably because, I've gone down, but I've not realized it, right? So I was feeling different forms of agony on the basketball court. And there's also, with age, what happens sometimes is your body ages before your mind ages. So, I imagine that I can run a certain distance in a certain time, and I set out, but I actually don't do it. So all of this was happening to me on the court. So my actual play experience was not really that uplifting. I was not really in the state of flow that much. I was not enjoying myself way too much. On the other hand, my work, which was teaching, was by now, every time I would teach, I would just I had like a 99% hit rate of getting into this flow of state. I was teaching stuff I loved. And I obviously, had the respect and love of the students, unlike on the basketball court. So I was having a ball. I was having a wonderful time at work. Yet, I recognized that when I was going to work in the morning, the way I would talk to myself as well as other people at home is, hey, I'm going to work. I have to go to work. That was my narrative. And in the evening, I would be sitting, wearing my shoes, and I'm going to play. And my thing was it was different. It was a difference, right? A subtle difference. And I know that for many people, it's not so subtle also. It's like, I have to go to work versus, hey, I'm going to play. So I got myself with this. I was like, what's going on, Ramya? What's going on here? So I'm also a researcher. So I dove into the research to start looking at these constructs of work and sports and how they evolved. And when I started looking at it, I realized that obviously I'm not the first person to look at it. And guess who else has looked at it? The father, one of the fathers of positive psychology, Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, who coined the term flow. He has also looked at it, right? And he's known for coining the term flow. He's done a lot of other smaller bits of research. And one of the huge bodies of work that he did was he studied the chances of experiencing flow at work, not work. Yeah, at work also he did, but the comparison, one of his main bodies of, not main, it was a side body of research, was leisure versus sports, which he called active leisure. So passive leisure versus active leisure. So let me break this down for you now. And then, of course, I brought this back into work versus sport, right? Work and sport. Now, when we look at experiencing the state of flow, one of the things that is really conducive to experiencing the state of flow, which is the state of total engaging, immersive, peak performance, energized, yeah, being in the zone, being in the moment, loving what you do and contributing and excelling. That's what we want, right? Why would we not want that? Now, one of the things conducive to that is to have a structured task that has goals, that has targets, and scope for feedback, a certain level of challenge, that is commensurate with a certain level of skill. So you want your skill and your challenge to be high, and you want them to be balanced. And then, of course, you want to be able to focus and achieve and all of that. Now, if you look at the container of sports, which is what Csikszentmihalyi calls active leisure, it allows for these things. If you look at the container of work, it allows for these things. Now, what does not allow for these things? What Csikszentmihalyi calls passive leisure. What is passive leisure? Passive leisure will be just sitting on the TV and putting your legs up and, let's say, just watching a movie or a serial. And not really, if you're let's say you're sitting with a group of friends and you're watching, pausing, stopping, analyzing, that's still active, okay? Like a case discussion. So we're not talking about that. We're talking about passive, okay? So that's passive leisure, or just sitting idly, chit-chatting with friends, gossiping, no proper agenda. That's, again, passive leisure, just lying down on a hammock, okay? Now, again, nothing per se against passive leisure, except that passive leisure provides relaxation, but it doesn't provide the opportunity for flow. I got quite interested in this because I personally had quite a few instances of not enjoying passive leisures and I experiences a lot, right? And I used to often make myself very wrong for it. For example, many times parties, lots of kinds of parties are often, unless you're playing some party games, right? Then it's active leisure. I would not enjoy. I would like, it would be like, I'm going and I'm coming down drained or sad or bored rather than energized. Similarly with vacations, again, you can have active vacations or you can have completely passive. Now, that was one data point I had from my own life. The other data point I had was, which again struck a chord with me, which was there in Csikszentmihalyi's research. And then I went beyond his research. It's documented by others also, something known as Sunday neurosis. Now, for the longest part of my life, I used to find Sundays challenging, especially the time when I was struggling with depression, there's a certain phase in my life. It's postpartum and a few years after that. And I realized that there's actually a term called Sunday neurosis. Now, what is Sunday neurosis? Basically, what psychologists and therapists have noticed was that there's a spike in the calls for help, mental health, to mental health professionals on Sundays. And they call this Sunday neurosis. Now, ideally, you would say, why are people sort of losing it on Sundays, right? Sundays should be the chill day, the happy day. Looks like what was happening is that their psychic entropy was peaking on Sundays. Now, what is psychic entropy? Okay, so I want you to imagine a continuum. One end of it is flow. So think of it as psychic entropy is the mental opposite end of the spectrum of flow. So what is flow? In the flow state, you're completely immersed in an activity. You're one with the tasks. You're so focused on it. Your mind is not going here and there. it's all aligned. You're completely in the zone, right? You're aligned. You become one with the task. So there's complete alignment in your mind. It's like meditation with an object of focus, which is your work, right? It's task-based meditation. You can call it that, okay? So that's one end. What's the opposite? The opposite is psychic entropy. It's like your mind is going here and there and here and there, like full of, if you've heard of the analogy of the human mind being like drunk monkeys that are sort of chitter-chattering. That's the other end, psychic entropy. Now, when psychic entropy peaks, we call it madness, right? Like, you don't know where my head is going. Excuse me. Yeah. So psychic entropy can get really out of hand. When it does that, we don't like it. That's what we call madness. That was what we call, hey, I'm going crazy. Now, this was speaking on Sundays. Why was this speaking on Sundays? Because if you have not structured your time and if you've not decided, I will do this and this and this and this and this, right? There's chances are, if you're prone to psychic entropy, and all of us are to some extent or the other, it increases. So I found this really interesting. I was like, wow. And I realized that work is actually providing such a great service to us, a service for mental sanity. Work allows us not just, it allows us to earn money, of course. It allows us to do whatever else that you want to do, whether it is a chance for self-expression or creativity, being productive, going out and meeting people. Work can give so many things. And it is also, it's like it can be an antidote from psychic entropy, madness, depression, meaningless, purposelessness, all of that, all of which have really, really plagued me. And I know that these things plague a lot of us in modern day society. So I really started looking at, hey, why have we made such a villain out of something so beautiful like work, something that can be such a precious gift in our lives? And that's when, again, this is not my work. This is done by several other people, but I've sort of taken it and built on it and, put different forms of, different people's researches together to understand it, which is the historical reputation of work. And so if you see in India, we had this thing called work is worship. But that's not really how a lot of us think about work anymore, right? That's lost. We think, oh, who wants to think of work as worship? We've westernized our own thoughts about work. So now let's look at the Western society and where they came from, right? So this is where I found a very interesting, exploration that had been done, and it goes back to the Roman era, and where you see the historical, where there's almost a disrespect for work and disrespect, as if human beings don't want to work, as there's this judgment associated with working class. Oh, you're the working class, you need to work. We are the elite, we don't need to work. You need to work, you're working class. So it's like that historical disrepute for work. There was also, goes back to the Roman times and times from before that. And of course, it was not there way back. It was not there in caveman's time, right? So basically, the idea is that the term work started having all these associations associated with it. And right now, and all of these have come down to us from different places, right? So now let's go back to what we're looking at in this course, the whole conditioning of the mind. So just like you redefine success, the different meanings of success, our minds have different meanings of work. So what does work mean to us? That is what we are exploring in this module. And how can we change that? And I'm actually going to call out the fact that for most of us, there's an element of work having been painted as a villain. And we've not done this consciously. It's been done to us, right? So one is, like I told you, because of this whole historical repute for us. The other is, a lot of rhetoric, like work from Monday to Friday so that you can enjoy on the other days. As if this is the price that you have to pay in order to enjoy your life. What does that mean? You mean you can't enjoy your life when you're working? Today, it's reverse for me, right? I enjoy my life literally while working. And of course, some of the other things I might do, I could look at them as price if I wanted to. So this entire model, this has to change. This has to change, okay? And there's a small minority of people like me now who we've challenged this model. It does not exist for me in my mind anymore. I've worked. It used to be there, right? I've changed it, but I realize I'm in a very small minority, which is why I've made it my life's mission. I'm like, hey, you know what? We're going to change this. So now I'm looking at what are the forces that are opposing this, okay? And this is where the leisure industry comes in. Again, I'm not here to make the leisure industry wrong or bad. And this is both active leisure and passive leisure industry, of course. But if leisure industry, and this can be from holidays, this can be vacation rentals, this can be, okay, why is Zoom showing me bubbles? This can be vacation rentals, this can be holidays, this can be Netflix, this can be, all of that, hobby classes, parties, all of that. If let's take Netflix as an example, okay? Or even vacations. If they want to sell it to us, and if you look at the advertising that's used, this holiday will be sold as an antidote to work. Oh my God, get a break from your tiring work, get a break from your stressful work. But why does work have to be tiring and stressful in the first place that you need a break from it, right? So they're painting and they're reinforcing this whole idea of work being something that you want to get a break from, so that then you will take this. So this is what I mean by the villainization of work. This has already happened, and we want to re-establish this. We want to change that, okay? So how are we going to do that? We're going to follow the same process that we're following in our journey of inner sovereignty. First one is awareness. Awareness to see what all has our minds brought in, picked up. Okay, picked up as definitions of work, associations of work. Maybe it's thoughts like work has to be stressful, or work is something that needs to be done, or work should be, always compensated with money, or whatever it is. And that is, so again, the exercise one, step one is self-reflection. There are three parts to it. The first one is to create a mind map of your existing emotions, thoughts, ideas, associations with work. Okay, so I have detailed exercise instructions in the assignment, and that's what you do. Bring your awareness to it and really look at it. And once you've done that, you look at it. Okay, so this is what my brain currently thinks of work, and then start looking at which one out of these, which are the ones that are functional, which do I want to keep, which are the ones that are dysfunctional, which are the ones that I want to call the bluff on this and say, no, not true, not true, not true, not true, right? Pull out the bluff on those. That's what exercise one is about. Okay. Now we move on to exercise two. Now in exercise two, we actually get more into looking at work as an opportunity for experiencing flow. Now, work, like I told you, can be an opportunity for so many things, and you get to decide, it's your customized thing, what it can be. It can be an opportunity for worship. It can be an opportunity to connect with the divine. It can be an opportunity to showcase your strengths. It can be an opportunity to make other people's lives better. It can be an opportunity to grow, to learn, to become a better version of you. It can be an opportunity for creativity. It can be an opportunity for self-expression. It can be an opportunity for artistic expression. It can be an opportunity to meet with like-minded people. It can be an opportunity to dress up. It can be a reason to get out of your house. It can be so many things, right? To all of these, I want you to make sure that in your whatever you want as work, you also be mindful of two things. One is it can be an opportunity for flow. It's a beautiful opportunity for flow. And I don't want anyone to not miss that. And of course, learning. So learning is fine. I think everyone knows about growth mindset, learning mindset, and you can learn from anything, and most of you will have that. But most of us, and I just keep running into people who think of flow as, oh, it just happens. When I paint, when I write poems, when I play, I was also there, right? Work flow just happens sometimes, and I'm lucky when it happens, and wow. What the question they don't ask is, yes, of course, when it happens, it's wow. But can it happen in your work? B, are there things you can deliberately do to increase the chances of experiencing flow at work? And the answer to both of these are yes. Now, again, this main module, I'll keep it as short. I'm not going to bore you, or I'm not going to, it's not a bore actually, but it's a bit of a detour, and maybe not everyone wants to understand more about flow. So that's going to be an extra resource. A series of videos that I will link to will be an optional module as part of this. It's optional sub-module as part of this module for you to understand more about work, about flow, the dimensions of flow, the benefits, all of that, right? But here, as long as you just know the basic idea of flow, what it is, being peak performance, being in the zone, you can do this exercise right away. So again, you can look at the optional, or you don't look at it, you can still do the exercise. What's the exercise? The exercise is going to ask you to recollect times when you've been in the flow state. It need not be work related to work. It can be from any aspect of life. And based on that, there are some deliberate questions that I'm asking you to reflect on, which will help you create a very personalized flow profile. So my flow profile, for example, will tell me how does Ramya experience flow? What are the things that makes Ramya get into flow, right? And there are common things to all of humanity and people. There are also specific things to me. So I touch base with so you will be creating your personalized flow profile. And then I have some reflective, questions for you to then start customizing and asking. Now, if I want to reverse engineer this experience of flow, what are the elements that I can tweak with, tally with, right? Now, people have done work on this again. There's research, and there are 8 frequently associated characteristics out of flow. And over my life, I've been experimenting with, reverse engineering through each one of these. I have a write-up on that, which I will include. These 8 dimensions are also, and the way you can reverse engineer with them are also there in the additional video series that you will see. But if you don't want to do that, you can still, through your own experiences, create this for yourself. Okay, so that's exercise 2 that you will be doing individually. Now, exercise 3 that you will be doing as part of this module is making a list of your own return on time invested at work. I call this ROTI at work. Okay. So what is return on time? Like, you put your money in a financial instrument, an FD, a mutual fund, whatever. You're investing, you want a return, right? Similarly, when you do any activity, you're working, you're investing your time, your attention, your energy, right? You want some return. And typically, most of us think it is money, right? Compensation. I work, I get money. I work, I put 8 hours, I get this much money. I put 2 hours, I get this much money. I put 4 hours, I put this much money. Fair enough. Nothing wrong with that logic, except it's limited, because I'm actually getting more than the money, right? And this is when I realized that this model was so flawed for me. Like, early in my career, if I had access to this, I'm sure I would have done things very differently, right? So I just feel like these are the times I feel I could go back in time and have a more holistic model of, but better late than never. And so whatever age you are, just now stop and say, okay, you definitely can have money. I'm not saying don't have money, but it's a disservice to yourself in the time you're investing if you're not counting the learning. When you go to an MBA school, you invest money and time, and what you get in turn is learning. When you're working, you're investing time, you get the money and you get the learning also, right? You get learning, you get experience. Again, like I told you, you get so many other things that you want. You can get a chance to bond with people, build your network, build your credibility, self-esteem, self-worth. For some people, it's respect from your parents, spouse, family. Some people, it can be status. Some people, it can be just a chance to get out. Some people, it can be chance for self-expression, creativity, tons of it. Just figure out. Chance to travel, to meet new people, right? Of course, see beautiful places. I have increasingly, for me now, I've included chance to contribute to others. But for me, even contribution, I'm not saying I don't like contribution, but then this is the way it makes sense in my head. I mean, I like to contribute because it helps me in my own spiritual work. Okay, so this is my it counts in the way I do my accounting with my relationship of the divine and the universe and all of that, right? So it gives me chances to do all those things that I want to, and I get all of that from my work. So you can start really looking at your work and seeing what all do you want from your work, and be bold, ask, and I will just tell you that start wherever you are, but this is something your roti at work list will keep evolving as you evolve. The kind of things that I can now ask as my return on time invested work, I wouldn't have dreamt that it was possible 10 years ago. 10 years ago when I started, it was just a bit like self-expression and chance to read things that I like and learn topics and all of that. But it's just grown, right? So yours will also grow, but be as bold as you want to and ask for whatever. So making that list is really your exercise 3. After you do these 3, then there's a task, which is to redefine work for yourself. Like you redefine success, now you redefine work. Have your own definition of work. Yeah, the world outside is villainized work, doesn't matter. Bhar mein jaye, let them go. You create your definition of work, hold it very sacred and hold it very... And unless you're on a mission like me, I would say you don't have to go around telling it to people also. Just hold it inside you as your sacred definition of work, okay? And you'll get all the benefits from just having that inner definition. When you create this, the first 3 exercises will help you, give you inputs. I also want you to do a quick alignment check to see that your definition of work is coherent with your definition of success.